From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting, originating from the County Administrative Center located at 1115 Truxtun Avenue, Bakersfield, California. Kern County's vision is to create and maintain a customer-centered county government designed to garner the confidence, support, and trust of the people we serve. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Board to reconvene. Madam Clerk, good afternoon. Would you please call the roll?
Here.
Now that I'm mic'd up, Supervisor Gleason.
Here.
Supervisor Scrivener.
Here.
Supervisor Maggard.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez.
Here. Thank you and good afternoon, Kern County and staff. We will move to Ms. Rezan for a report on items in closed session.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. As you know, this morning you met on items 47, 48, 49, 50, and 51 in closed session, but there is no reportable action.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rezan. Again, as mentioned during our 9 o'clock board session and previous to today, the County of Kern has provided ample notice that as a result of the declared federal, state, and local emergencies due to the COVID-19 pandemic and in light of the governor's order, this Board of Supervisors meeting is not physically open to the public yet. Testimony and general public comment could be given through email or voice messages to the clerk of the board prior to today's meeting, and live comments via teleconference will be heard during the meeting. We will begin by considering the consent agenda. All items listed with a capital C, capital A are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion if no member of the board or public wishes to comment or ask questions. If a member of the audience wishes to comment or ask questions regarding an item or items on the consent agenda, they may do so prior to a vote being taken on the consent agenda. A member of the board may remove any item from the consent agenda, and it will be considered in listed sequence, with an opportunity with any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. The consent matters begin on page 2, and they include items 3 and 4. On page 3, item 8. On page 4, items 9 through 12. On page 5, items 13 through 17. On page 6, items 18 through 22. On page 7, items 23 through 27. On, excuse me. On page 8, items 28 through 33. On page 9, items 34 through 42. On page 10, items 43 and items 45 through 49. On page 11, item 55 has been withdrawn and will not be heard. The other remaining items, 50 through 54 and 56, remain on consent. And finally, on page 12, items 57 through 61. Kathy, did I get all that right?
Yes, but there is a correction to read into the record on the recommended action on item number 4.
Item number 4, pardon me. The read-in is all actions effective March 26, 2020. Is that correct, Kathy?
Yes, we're adding that language to the recommended action.
Excellent. So as to the consent matters, with the item withdrawn and, of course, the correction on 4, are there members of the public that would like to comment on consent?
Madam Chair, there are not.
Thank you. And colleagues, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Supervisor Gleason, Supervisor Couch. For the motion and second, will you please cast your votes, colleagues? It's not letting me, Kathy. Okay, there we go.
Supervisor Gleason, can you reconfirm your vote? Thank you. The consent agenda is approved. All ayes.
Thank you very much. Regarding public presentations, number 1, this portion of the meeting, oops, my mistake. Before we get to the public presentations, I would like to read a matter regarding a non-agenda item. from the CAO. This is a motion to consider non-agenda item number 43-A, make finding that need to take action on non-agenda matter occurred after the agenda was posted, because on May 18, 2020, Governor Newsom announced revised variance criteria to proceed more quickly through stage 2 of California's reopening. Kern County has met the criteria necessary to submit a readiness for variance request to proceed more quickly through stage 2. Adding this item to the May 19, 2020 agenda will permit Kern County to submit the COVID-19 variance attestation form and letter of support without delay. Item 43A is a request to approve Kern County's local variance COVID-19 attestation written submission. So at this time, we'll ask if there's public input. Kathy?
Actually not. The board needs to make the finding to add the item to the agenda.
And then we'll take public comment.
Under the item, yes.
Got it. Okay, as to the potential of item 43A, colleagues, your thoughts?
I make a motion to make the findings and add it to the agenda.
Thank you, Supervisor Couch. We have a
Second.
motion
Second.
and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Okay, excellent. So the matter will be heard under 43A.
Right.
I'm sorry? Yes. Okay, excellent. Thank you. So back to the normal agenda. No, we're going to hear it now. Can't get anything right this afternoon. Thank you, Kathy. I just smooth right through it, Couch, Smoke and mirrors. Okay, so as to item 43A, Ryan Alsop, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and members of the board. I am going to ask Mr. Wiebe, representative of my office, who is been lead on this for our office, to provide your report.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. As Mr. Alsop mentioned, my name is Jason Wiebe with the County Administrative Office. Thought it might be helpful just to briefly provide some context related to the steps to this process. There are a few different steps we need to complete. One is receiving letters of support from all of our county hospitals, supporting our effort to accelerate through stage 2, as well as attesting to the fact that they have capacity for surge of patients and a capacity for PPE and other supplies. As of this morning, we received letters from all of our hospitals and received that support to move forward. Secondly, we needed to complete a consultation call with the California Department of Public Health. We completed that with our public health officer, our director of public health, Matt Constantine, and Assistant Director Bryn Kerrigan. They provided additional guidance. Nothing has changed in terms of the qualifying criteria. We do have a little extra work they've provided us with attachments that we will complete this afternoon, but we are confident of our ability to qualify to accelerate through stage 2 after our consultation call. Lastly is what we're doing today, and that's getting a letter of support from our Board of Supervisors, that you as a board support us submitting this attestation form and us submitting it to move forward. So that's where we are today. So I'm gonna, it's been very fast moving over the last 24 hours, a lot of information, so I'm gonna kind of methodically walk you through the criteria. I think the two main things to focus on are the case metrics. These are the two areas we did not qualify under the first variance plan. The case metrics, as they were currently revised, are this. A demonstrated stable or decreasing number of patients hospitalized for COVID-19 by a 7-day average, or daily percentage, and total number of hospitalized confirmed COVID-19 patients of no more than 5%. As of yesterday, we meet this criteria. As of today, we meet this criteria. Kern County is at a stable number of patients hospitalized for COVID-19. Our 7-day average of daily percent change in the total number of hospitalizations has been a slight decrease of negative 0.83%. So we easily meet that criteria of less than 5% increase. The second case metric is a positive test rate of our residents of less than 8% over the last 7 days. And I'll give you the exact numbers as of today. Over the past 7 days, Kern County has performed 3,552 tests with 218 positive results. This equates to a positive test rate of 6.14%. Again, that's below 8%, and we meet that criteria. And again, we confirmed that with the State Department of Public Health with our consultation call this morning. The rest of the criteria has to deal more with adequate preparedness planning and response planning, containment, hospital surge, things of that nature. So I'm going to kind of briefly walk you through some of those components just to assure your board that we meet all of that criteria. And again, did confirm that with the State Department of Public Health this morning. First of all, Kern County Public Health has been providing clear guidance and resources to all essential workers, public, nonprofit, private sectors. Since the stay-at-home order went into effect March 19th, we are providing guidance and links to all of those resources that we provide to businesses in different sectors within the county, and the State Department of Public Health has been satisfied with the guidance that we've been provided. Secondly is the availability of supplies to protect essential workers. Kern County Public Health, as well as our Office of Emergency Services, are in weekly contact with essential workers and their employers to assess the availability of supplies. We maintain a spreadsheet for many of these employers and provide alternative suppliers and vendors if needed, if they're running short. And we feel that we have an availability of supplies for a minimum of 14 days for most of our essential workplaces, including healthcare facilities and skilled nursing facilities. The next component is testing capacity. The requirement is that we have a minimum daily testing capacity to test 1.5 residents per 1,000 residents. And this could be met through a combination of testing symptomatic individuals as well as targeted surveillance and non-symptomatic individuals. We currently have a testing capacity in excess of 1.5 per 1,000 residents, and we're in excess of 2 actually with our most recent testing sites online. We have the capacity to meet this requirement with really over 2,800 tests per day, and 1.5 residents would require 1,700 tests per day. Mind you, that is capacity. We know that many of our residents have not chosen to get testing, and our weekly numbers are short of that, but we do have the capacity should our residents choose to get tested and meet that number. One other factor related to testing is that all Kern County residents must live within 75%, or 75% of Kern County residents must live within a 30-minute drive of a testing site. Our public health IT department did a GIS map, and of our 50-plus testing sites, nearly 96% of residents in Kern County live within a 30-mile drive of a testing site. So we've met that criteria. One other criteria talks about our surveillance plan, which really just kind of reinforces our testing capacity and contact tracing capacity. Our contact tracing capacity needs to be at least 15 contact tracers per 100,000 residents. That would require us to have 135 contact tracers in the event of a surge. We currently have 70 contact tracers trained and ready to go, with the capacity to add 65 more in a matter of days by training disaster service workers that are equipped and have a background in interviewing and obtaining information and dealing with vulnerable populations. So we have met that criteria with contact tracing. The availability of temporary housing for our homeless population is another criteria that we meet. Our Regional Homeless Collaborative has recently engaged the city to develop Project Roomkey, to develop hotel vouchers for those that may need it. We also have the isolation trailers for our homeless individuals, as well as ability to isolate homeless individuals at our existing shelters and low barrier navigation shelter. And that capacity reaches 15% of our current homeless population, up to 237 individuals of the 1,580 individuals that were counted as homeless during our last point in time count. So we do meet that criteria of having the capacity to provide that shelter for 15% of our current homeless individuals. A few more items. Hospital capacity. Again, this has been consistent throughout that the state has asked. We have a 35% surge capacity for our hospitals. We well exceed that. We have, I believe, 1,381 licensed hospital beds, with 1,171 being inpatient beds, 228 ICU beds. If needed, we have 552 additional hospital beds in addition to 250 alternative care site beds. And we have a capacity for an additional 76 ICU beds. So that more than exceeds a 35% surge capacity. In addition, the ventilators are close to 80% surge capacity. I believe we have 277 mechanical ventilators, and we have 228 still available. So more than enough capacity to handle a 35% surge based on the state's criteria. I think one of the most important components of the next criteria is that Kern County hospitals have enough PPE, personal protective equipment, for their clinical and non-clinical staff. The best evidence of that is the letters of support they've written. In all of those letters of support, they have confirmed that they have sufficient PPE, they have a sufficient supply chain through their own procurement system. Of course, the state and the county can serve as backup, but they are well equipped through their own procurement system, so we meet that criteria. The same with our vulnerable populations and skilled nursing facilities. Kern County Public Health has and will continue to be in daily contact and consultation with our local California Department of Public Health. As you know, the state has regulatory authority over our skilled nursing facility, but our county and Kern County Public Health has stepped up recently to supplement that support by providing training, staff, testing, and all the support that they need to help mitigate any outbreaks and contain any COVID testing within those skilled nursing facilities. We also are in daily and weekly contact with the skilled nursing facilities to ensure that they have a 14-day supply of PPE and update that on a weekly basis and provide them with alternative suppliers or additional supplies should they need it from our backup. The final two things I want to cover before I open it up to questions or additions from Mr. Constantine is our timeline. Simply put, following the state's acceptance and posting of Kern County's attestation, businesses within the later phase of Stage 2 will be permitted to reopen immediately upon their implementation of State of California guidance for industry and business sectors. This includes destination retail, including shopping malls and swap meets, and dine-in restaurants. Kern County staff will sustain our education and collaboration efforts with our businesses to ensure their ongoing compliance with the state's guidance and requirements, and we'll be able to open immediately. Our hope is, if we can get this submitted today, which is our goal, the state will take a 1 to 3 day turnaround, and we can have this up and going by the 3-day weekend. The final thing I want to mention are our triggers for adjusting these modifications. The state requires us to have some metrics that if we hit those thresholds, we will need to pull back on our opening. The three we've proposed in conjunction with Public Health and California Department of Public Health are an increase of greater than 8% COVID-19 tests returning positive over the next 7 days or over a 7-day period, an increase of greater than 5% hospitalizations over previous 7 days, and falling below a 35% surge capacity for hospital and ICU beds. We think these are consistent with what the state has put forth as our guidelines to meet the criteria, and are confident that they're good metrics to have us evaluate, consult with the California Department of Public Health to see if we need to scale back any of our modifications. So that, at a very high and quick level, covers the criteria that the state has outlined for us to meet We are confident we do meet that criteria. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this point. Otherwise, I'm happy to hear from Mr. Constantine if he wants to add anything, or Mr. Alsop.
Jason, that's an excellent presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm happy to see how far along Kern is. It's encouraging. It'd be a good time to hear from Mr. Constantine. Matt, hope you're well there, and you can chime in here soon. We'd love to hear from you and appreciate all your hard work.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Thank you for giving me a few minutes. First off, I want to say thank you to Jason and Ryan. They've both been instrumental in shepherding this through. It's a ton of work. I think Jason did a good job at summarizing the issue, understanding that the state has continued to make changes to it. The conference call we had this morning was very helpful and went a long ways in recognizing that we have achieved those specific standards that they have written down. There is still some time, as Jason mentioned. This goes back to the state. They have several layers of review. It goes back to a couple different individuals. Then it eventually gets up to another group in the state, and eventually then it gets posted, and at that point it becomes effective. What this does is it allows us again to expedite our run through stage 2. So it specifically affects, according to the governor's structure, retail. They call it destination retail, and also dine-in restaurants. Those are the primary areas that this addresses. This only allows us to get through stage 2 if approved. Stage 3, the governor has indicated, we will all do as a state. We will enter and cross that line together. In stage 3 currently are sporting events, large sporting events and concerts, churches. There's a number of different types of facilities that are still remaining. So although we're grateful for this effort and reaching this milestone as a county and anxious for the state to approve, we still have more work ahead of us. We've made tremendous progress in our preparations for this pandemic and our response to the pandemic. We want to keep up our efforts, even though we're optimistic we can open up some of these businesses. It's imperative we stay strong. We don't lose any of our ground that we've made. We continue to adhere to those requirements about keeping us all safe and well. But this is a good first nod to the hard work in Kern County and how we've all done a good job at making sure we're safe. So, Madam Chair, those are just a few comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Matt, thank you so very much. I think we're well positioned to continue this exercise and to be ahead of the curve. So I'm extremely grateful for that. Are there questions from my colleagues or comments?
I just have one.
Supervisor Scribner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hi, Mr. Constantine. I assume you're still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I think part of what we need to make sure we do here, so we're clear to the public and our friends in the media that are going to be telling this story, is that we're managing our expectations and managing everyone's expectations on how quickly we think we might be able to move. Our staff has gone above and beyond in getting this plan put together and ready for submission, but there are still several layers, like you said, of approval that are going to be required at the state level. So I just want to make sure that that we all are clear on that, and that in order to go move into the final phases of stage 2, the inn, restaurant, dining, et cetera, we still need to, and today's Tuesday, and so we're hopeful that the state will move quickly for us, but we still have several hoops that we're going to need to have the state move through for us. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Supervisor.
Matt, do you have any comments on that? Excuse me.
No, Supervisor Scribner, through the chair, you're exactly right. Jason and I specifically asked for a timeline. We said our intent, following anticipation of the board approval today, was to submit this in their hands today. We specifically asked for timelines, They indicated that they would not define a timeline, but they said normally expectations are between 1 to 3 days, but they would not confirm either way. And as I counted, there's 1, 2, 3 reviews that remain after we submit today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that precision. Supervisor Maggard.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, I'd like to ask my questions after we've voted on this. There are a couple of logistical issues, so if you don't mind, I'd like to wait till after we vote.
Got it. Thank you, Supervisor Maggard. Supervisor Gleason.
At the risk of beating a dead drum, I wanted to thank everybody, Jason, Supervisor Maggott, Supervisor Scrivener, for the work and getting this whole to where we are today. It's a mammoth lift. Thank you all. I can't say enough of how much I appreciate this. A couple questions. Okay, so I hear you. We got this plan. We're going to submit it today to the state. And they're saying 1 to 3 days before they approve it, if they approve it. My question is, that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. My folks up in the KRV are expecting tons of folks up there this weekend, and all over this county, there are people who are vacation spots that are planning on, standing by to open if they get the thumbs up. How are we going to get word throughout Kern County that we're open if the state approves this on Friday? What's the plan for notification of everybody that we're going to open?
Supervisor Gleason, through the chair. So as Matt said, and I think Jason alluded to, this attestation is focused on allowing our county to move, specifically move at an accelerated rate through the governor's Stage 2 plan. And he has some early phases of that plan, which we're in, and some later phases of the plan that we would, as a county, like to begin to move into. Getting the state's okay, which we hope to get within 1 to 3 days, is really going to be focused on restaurants and having restaurants in our county move from curbside and delivery only to expanded operations where they're able to have people inside and in-house dining. It also specifically affects retail establishments as outlined by Mr. Wiebe. So it's really those two industries specifically. And once we submit this afternoon, we'll be communicating with the state and making sure that they understand that we'd like to hear at the earliest possible time. And we are going to be working directly with those two industry groups. We have an industry call and meetings with restaurants this week, scheduled for tomorrow and Thursday. We are scheduling calls with retail folks. We're going to be not only doing this on our own and reaching out to industry groups that are representative from businesses from all over the county, but we're going to be working through chambers of commerce. We're going to be making sure that all of these businesses within those two industries specifically understand that the guidelines to expand their operations are provided. They have been provided by the state. They are currently on the state's website. We have already provided those guidelines to many in those industries, but we will be making those guidelines available on the county's website, on Public Health's website, through our social media. We're going to be working with chambers to make sure that that information is front and center for their members. I would like to think that people like Mr. Ortiz of the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce may be even proactively calling his restaurateurs who are members of his chamber, letting them know that this is happening, that there's a potential within the next 3 days that they can move to in-room dining, and where they can find the guidance on how to do that safely and responsibly. So this is going to be an effort that not only the county will be undertaking in engaging with these people, not just in the Kern River Valley, not just out in Ridgecrest, but all over the county here in Bakersfield too, to make sure that they're aware of what the governor's guidelines are as they begin to expand their operations. There are some procedures, there's protocols that they need to have in place, And again, we have gotten those things, that information out to many of them, but we're going to make sure that they're aware of it. And hopefully, once they have an understanding of what those directives are, we can, and we get confirmation from the state that we're able to move forward, they can begin to do so this weekend in those two specific industries, restaurants and retail.
Thanks.
Supervisor, you're done? Supervisor Gleason, okay. Anyone else at this time? Okay.
So the recommended action for your board is to approve staff to submit the COVID-19 variance attestation form and authorize a chairperson to sign a letter of support.
Thank you very much, Jason. We're going to go to a vote in a moment, but I would ask Kathy if there's any public input that we should receive at this time.
There are no members of the public wishing to comment.
Okay. Thank you very much, and I'll move to my colleagues for action.
Move approval.
Thank you, Supervisor Couch. Thank you, Supervisor Maggard. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Again, outstanding work. Jason, thank you. You're a consummate professional and quite bright. Supervisor Maggard.
Thank you. Yeah, a couple of logistical things. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, you said that. I'm sorry.
That's all right, no problem. So we have a 1 o'clock call with a group of restaurateurs tomorrow, right? We have, I think, I don't remember. There's another group of restaurateurs that we're going to talk to on Thursday. But how do we get the word out? Because as soon as this broke yesterday that we were attempting to do this, I began getting phone calls. A scramble now is underway. How do they get ready to go? How do they have all the necessary supplies to comply with the demands of the state? So will there be an official press release? Will we try to make sure that all media outlets can announce to those restaurants? Not everybody's a member of the various chambers of commerce. So what is our game plan on how to do that specifically? Or if not, can we have one by Thursday?
Yeah, Supervisor Maggard, I don't have anything written down, but we're going to bring the full power of our staff and talent and our connections across this county with the various folks to bear on this. We're going to, obviously, we're having these meetings. We're going to be working with the chambers of commerce. We're going to be utilizing social media. We're going to be making this stuff available on our website so restaurants can go and look there. Obviously, we will be asking our friends in the media to be assisting us with making sure that they are announcing this and making sure that businesses are aware and that they know where to go to see the guidelines. Public health, as you know, has a tether to restaurants in particular through their oversight of those facilities. They have a list, a contact list, and I know that Matt and his team, they're going to be reaching out to restaurants through public health to make sure that they're aware of the guidelines and where we are as a county in stage 2 and their ability to reopen. So it's going to be an all hands on deck, and I have every confidence that it will be critical mass, and people will know, and they will have an understanding of how they proceed.
Thank you. I'm confident that we'll make every effort to make them aware. I wanted to say something now that speaks to the public about our restaurants. Our restaurants have been through a hellacious gauntlet of changing rules and expectations and hopes and having those hopes dashed, and they're running on a razor's edge. So I would urge the public, as we anticipate going back to our restaurants and trying to open up that part not only of our economic sector but our lives, the quality of our lives, that the public cooperate with those restaurant owners. They are under a great deal of pressure to comply from the state, and I just urge the public to be mindful of that. It's going to be different than you experienced the last time you were in the restaurant. Don't be pulling up in your pickup and and having a party in the you know, on the outside of the area that's designated. Don't be bringing your own tables and chairs, and you know, we are risking the ability of that restaurateur to sustain their effort if we don't comply with those rules, because they're very aware of what they have to do. And you know, I don't know to what extent the state's watching, but I don't want them to run afoul of that. So I just ask the public to be as cooperative and mindful of that as they can be. There is a significant issue for restaurants, and one of the things that will surprise people the most is the distancing, social distancing that's supposed to occur inside the restaurants. So restaurants, I'm not saying anything that many people already know, but they run on very narrow margins, and they need a certain volume to make up for what they've lost. So if they can only seat half or less of their normal capacity, that limits how much revenue they can bring in and how many people they can reemploy and all of that. So an effort that has caught some momentum around the state is to allow restaurants to open up in their parking lots where appropriate, and sometimes on their sidewalks where appropriate, to serve outside of the normal walls and confines of the restaurant as it was before. That has even gained momentum with the alcohol beverage control, and before you could never allow somebody to drink in the parking lot, for example. But there is a mechanism now by which the parking lot can become, as far as ABC is concerned, can become a designated area where you can enjoy a meal and a drink if that's part of your meal. So I have asked Lorelei Oviatt, Craig Pope, and the Fire Chief, Dave Witt, to just briefly engage us in a conversation about our efforts to try to move as quickly as possible to allow those restaurants to do that in the unincorporated areas of Kern County. And one of the reasons that I am urging us to have this discussion here is that I'm trying to open the door for our colleagues in the municipalities, the cities all throughout Kern County, to do the same thing as quickly as possible, because there's going to be a huge demand. And with that being said, Ms. Oviatt, I'll let you explain a little bit more of the details, but I have pushed you from the beginning about this, and you've been very cooperative. So could you give us your perspective, please?
Certainly. Lorelei Oviatt, Director of Planning and Natural Resources. We have consulted with Public Works and the Fire Department. So the City of Bakersfield is moving forward with a much bigger permit idea. They are working, they may have it on their council on Wednesday. Our unincorporated areas are different, and so what we are proposing today would be for only the unincorporated areas, and then the city may have a bigger permit system. So what we would like is a low-key, based on safety, focused on safety. People drive in parking lots that they're familiar with, and now suddenly you have diners, and you have waiters, and you have people walking around. And people right now, because of the COVID-19, are a little bit checked out. I know we all feel like things are not completely normal. So we want to make sure that when restaurateurs set up on their sidewalks or set up in the back, that we have the fire department review it for safety, number one. Number two, it's getting hot. So there's a possibility that they're going to want to set up a tent with misters or other sorts of things, and there are rules about that. So what we were looking for is one very simple thing. We're going to work with the CAO to get this in the guidelines. All we need is a letter. Just write us a letter, submit it. We'll give you the email for the planning department, specific planner. All you have to do is tell us where you're located, what you intend to do. I don't even need a diagram. I'm going to set up 7 chairs and tables on my sidewalk. I'm going to set up right behind my parking lot. Then we're going to coordinate with, we're going to have the fire department come up in a minute, that they can go out and check the safety of this. And then they also need to tell us, are you going to put up a tent? Because we believe it's going to be too hot for most of these people to actually function in the parking lot. So if we can talk a little bit about the tent, I will let you know that I have coordinated with the city. The city's talking about only allowing a permit for 3 months, and then having it be reevaluated to see how much longer we're going to need these restrictions. So if I'll throw it over to the fire department.
And Ms. Oviatt, just to clarify.
And there would be no fee for this.
Oh, very good, thank you. That's a nice touch.
The planning department and the fire department have some challenges with waiving fees, so we're going to work with the CAO's office on looking at the COVID CARE Act reimbursement, and it'll all work out in the end.
Thank you. I like, Ms. Oviatt, could you just clarify one thing? When you said we need a letter, you don't mean a letter from this board. I think you are saying
Sorry, I
you need
meant
a letter from the
restaurant
owner.
All I
Yes.
need is a letter. You can write it on a napkin. I just need an email. It doesn't even have to be a letter, just telling me where you are so we can keep track of this and we can coordinate it.
So we'll double back to that at the end, but we want
Okay.
to hear from the chief. Chief? With the chair's indulgence, sorry.
Of course.
Good afternoon, Madam
afternoon,
Chairwoman and members of the board. Today I brought Derek Tysinger, who is our fire marshal for the county of Kern, to talk a little bit about tents. First, I'd like to say, though, that the fire department is excited about the opportunity for our businesses to open, and that's very important to us. And we look forward to that and this and a quick response from the fire department. With that, Derek Tysinger is going to talk a little bit and answer those questions. Derek?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Derek Tysinger, Fire Marshal, Kern County Fire Department. My office is also excited to see parts of the economy reopen, get our inspectors back engaged in helping these local businesses do these, open up in a safe manner, in a more creative manner. Tents are routine for our department. Anything greater than 400 square feet would require a permit. My staff and I will be available 7 days a week after hours if necessary to accommodate this. And they're actually more routine than you think. We have a lot of reputable tent vendors within Kern County that I'm sure would be excited to get some of this business as well. I will gladly take any questions that you may have.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
Supervisor Maggard, does that address your concerns?
It does. Mr. Pope, do you need to say anything about traffic flow and any kind of a barrier in the parking lot? Just so I want people to be as aware as they can as they begin to anticipate what to do.
Through the chair, Supervisor Maggard, that is our concern, and the fact that we're asking them to submit a request to do this gives us a chance to give them a once-over and try and work with them to make it as safe as possible. That's our only concern is safety, and that's the same with the building inspection part of it also. We are there, the only purpose of building inspection is for public safety. And so with the fire department's once over and ours on any questions on traffic or safety like that, I think we have a plan that would be not too intrusive to the public, but yet still give us a chance to give it a one-time look at.
Very good, thank you. So, Ms. Oviatt, to whom do they send this request for this activity?
So we're going to work with the CAO to get that information on our website. We'll probably have a dual email that it's automatically going to Derek as well as going to the Division Chief of Permitting, Dennis McNamara, in my office so that we have instantaneous. We're going to try to get their review done in, within the 24 hours, 12 hours, right away so that they can start setting up and, get people out into their parking lot. Or their sidewalk. We also want to be careful about sidewalks, of course, to make sure that we're not forcing people to walk in the streets.
Sure, ADA compliant and all of that.
Yes, this would apply in the unincorporated areas, Lamont, Oildale, those kinds of areas. We have the same,
Kern River Valley.
Kern River Valley already has a lot of outdoor areas, so they may not need as much outdoor as Kern River Brewery is well set up to have outdoor social distancing. So this would also apply to retail. And so if people wish to move their wares into their parking lot, I think our only question to them would be is we'd like them to take it in because we think there'll be some security issues. So we're not as concerned with that as we are with people dining in a parking lot. So we will get this information on our website as well as work with the CAO and whatever guidelines are going out to the restaurant people.
Excellent. So does this not require a vote on behalf of this board?
It requires your direction to staff to implement this, yes.
Okay. I would like to make that direction to staff and see if my colleagues
Thank you.
Agree. And I think Mr. Alsop had something he would like to say.
So I have a question, Supervisor Maggard. Kathy Kraus asked during the conversation just now, should people start submitting immediately? And that seems wise. Do you have a comment about that, Supervisor or Director?
I think that would be smart.
Well,
And
Kathy's
We
smart.
would be more than happy to, there's something I was hoping that the supervisor or
smart.
somebody would mention, that if you have plans to do this, or you have an idea to do this, please go ahead and submit it. And so we will get that information on our website. I've texted my people. I'm sure they're putting it up right now. And people could send that over. And while the state is working on their review of our plan, we could be working to help people set the stage.
These are extraordinary times, but it demonstrates the extraordinary people that work for us that
Hear, hear.
are here to serve the people of this community. So thank you.
Indeed.
Madam Chairwoman and members of the board, we do have a permitting process with the fire department that we need to follow, and Derek can talk about that real quick.
Madam Chair, members of the board, again, the permitting process, very simple, can be turned around as quick as in 2 days. With the current situation, we can try to do some of this same day. Anything greater than 400 square feet would require a permit. Through my office, they could call. The permit requirements are also on our website, kerncountyfire.org. And one inspection is good for up to 6 months or 180 days.
KernCountyFire.org, and is there a phone number they should call?
661-391-3310.
Don't want to get that number wrong, or somebody's going to be very upset with you when the phone rings off the hook.
That's correct.
Very good.
Thank you, Supervisor Maggard. Supervisor Couch.
So how many, I'm a restaurateur or restaurant owner. How many permits am I going to be, depending on what I do? Let's say I want to put up a tent. I need a permit from the fire department, one from planning.
Just one permit.
But who am I applying to? Either place?
Yes. And we'll coordinate.
Yeah, fire department requires a permit. I believe Lorelei said you just need a letter, correct?
Just a letter, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tysinger. I don't know that I need you to stand right there. I just have a brief comment. Thank you to the staff, but I wanted to, a thought occurs to me, and that's, we have the governor's attention right now, and specifically, I think we have his attention, I believe, because of the work that's gone on here, but also that 10 CEOs and chief medical officers, I think, have credibility with the governor's office. And I would like to re-engage that group if possible. I know they're busy and hard to get together, but on additional businesses or entities that could be opening up. While we have his attention and while we have credibility with him, let's ask. Specifically, I'm thinking of churches, because I believe they're lumping churches now all into one category. And there are mega churches and there are small churches. And there's lots of different ways that they can, from multiple services to wearing of masks and distancing and all that, that I think churches could go about their business again and are willing to do that. So is that a request of the ad hoc committee, or is that a request of the staff? Who's best to ask that of?
Yeah. Chairwoman Perez, Supervisor Couch. So we are going to remain engaged with that group of medical leaders in our community. As you know, they joined us in sending a letter. I agree with your comments about the attention and the, I think the respect that they should be given in their suggestions and opinions. They specifically were focused on talking to the governor about specifically a change in his guidance from the rate of infection to hospitalization rates, and that's what they were specifically focused on. And the conversation was not about which businesses should open and when. From our vantage, we have, and we can certainly have a conversation with them about that and ask them what they think. But the governor has said as recently as yesterday that churches, and I understand your point, the different, there are different sizes and scopes. But churches are a stage 3 sector, and the governor, in fact, alluded to the reopening of stage 3 in addition to his public health, or Secretary of Health and Human Services, Dr. Ghali, alluded to the state potentially moving into stage 3 as early as the end of the month, which is just a couple of weeks away. That is separate really from stage 2 altogether, and they have said that those are going to continue to be stage 3, and he will be moving the entire state together as one into stage 3 when they make that determination. And again, they said, I think the good news for folks is that that could be in the next couple of weeks. So with that said, I certainly could make sure the issue's raised with the next call we have with these professionals. I think we've got a call scheduled for tomorrow, in fact.
I'm just so encouraged, Supervisor Couch, of your desperation to get back to church. I'm really moved by that. Well, I need to be. We all do. Supervisor Baggert, did you? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Anything else further here? Do we need to take a vote, Kathy?
No, I believe you already approved the item, and we're ready to move on to item 1, public presentations.
Okay, very good. Thank you all. Jason, thank you for your consistency. And Ryan, great work, great leadership. Public presentations is a portion of the meeting that is reserved for persons to address the board on matters that are within the jurisdiction of the Kern County Board of Supervisors, but are not on today's specific agenda. Perhaps they can be on a future agenda if it's relevant and there's movement on the board. But with that said, Kathy, you are the purveyor of public will, and I'm glad it's you because you're fair and incredible. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. We do have 2 recorded public comments that we're going to, first we're going to hear from the Bakersfield 3 moms. They wanted to thank the board and provided a written statement, which you actually have at the dais, but we're going to hear that recorded statement. We also have a letter from the Center on Race, Poverty, and the Environment. It's a combined letter with SEIU and Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability. And you also have the hard copy of that letter. And then after we hear those 2 recorded comments, we will go to the teleconference line where we have 4 members of the public wishing to provide comments. So we'll start with the recorded comments now.
Very good.
Letter from Cheryl Holzenbake, Diane Byrne, and Jane Parent, known as the Bakersfield 3, Moms of Missing and Murdered. Today we would like to thank the Kern County Board of Supervisors for their partnerships in helping us with our mission to support law enforcement and victims in our fight for justice. A special thanks to Madam Chair Leticia Perez for the very hands-on approach in helping us maneuver and achieve success for local mothers and families who have been victimized by serious crime. Today, we are proud to announce with hard work and community support, we have raised enough money to purchase much-needed sonar equipment for our search and rescue unit. This equipment will provide our rescue team with the tools to deploy underwater searches for children and adults who go missing. Our community has been plagued with the dubious distinction of having the most murders per capita in the state. With a strong working partnership with leaders, our community and law enforcement, it's our belief that we are making progress together and we can continue to reach new milestones in the fight for a safer community. In closing, we would like to encourage you to stay vigilant in our fight to keep Kern County a safe place. As our community bands together in good times and bad times, the one thing we can all agree on is a safe community to raise our families. Please, from every victim, victims' families, and those affected by crime, do whatever you can to keep reinforcing our district attorney and law enforcement so that justice can prevail and our community can remain a peaceful place. On behalf of the Center on Race, Poverty, and the Environment, Service Employees International Union Local 521, and Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability, we write to urge Kern County to adopt critical measures to protect workers and residents from the impacts of COVID-19. As a result of COVID-19, residents of Kern County need measures in place to protect their environmental and economic safety. Health and safety requires not only basic access to water, shelter, and food, but also stability in work, housing, and protective health regulations. It also means ensuring that residents continue to have access to critical social service programs, continuing to protect our most vulnerable populations, and adequately funding the public services that people out of work are needing. What is clear is that the solution is not gutting the programs that people out of work are depending on during this time. The community needs more investment in public safety, mental health programs, and social services programs that protect both children and vulnerable adults. The most recent available data shows that the county has reserve funds of over $730 million that the Board of Supervisors can allocate to meet these needs, including $153 million in assigned funds and $88 million in unassigned funds that can be allocated immediately, as well as other reserves that can be used for needed public services such as behavioral health. Kern County also received $157 million from the CARES Act, which can be used to reimburse COVID-19 related expenses. In comparison, the worst-case revenue shortfall predicted by the CAO through June 30, 2021 was $155 million. Now is not the time for cuts in needed public services. COVID-19 has highlighted and exacerbated inequities within our community. Much of the burden of COVID-19 is borne by farm workers, health care workers, and undocumented workers.
Thank you. The board has the full paperwork on that comment. Now we're going to go to our speakers waiting via teleconference. And the first speaker is Jasmine De La Aguila. She also submitted a packet, a hard copy packet that you have at the dais. Jasmine, if you would go ahead and unmute your mic by pressing *6 and provide your comments.
Yes, thank you. Board of Supervisors, through the chair. My name is Jasmine De La Aguila with Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability. In front of you, you should have a letter submitted by a coalition formed by Faith in the Valley, All of Us or None, and Leadership Council that continue to seek protections and economic stability for the most impacted residents of Kern County. In the letter, we highlight the need for an eviction moratorium to ensure people can stay in their homes through the COVID-19 and after the state of emergency is lifted, when economic and community stability will be necessary for an effective recovery. We also suggest a rent relief program to address the financial burden many are experiencing and will continue to experience post-COVID-19. In the letter, we have linked multiple examples of how other jurisdictions have led and put together an ordinance to help ensure people stay housed. As advocates on the ground, we're hearing stories on a wide spectrum of needs, from those who are utilizing all of their available resources to barely make ends meet, to those who are couch surfing, unable to afford medicine, or unable to afford to travel to get medical appointments. In the midst of this pandemic, people should feel secure that they cannot and should not be removed from their homes, and that their local government is taking steps to ensure their basic economic security and health. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We'll now go to Skylar Schwartz with, I believe, with the Center on Race, Poverty, and the Environment. Skylar, if you will go ahead and unmute your mic by pressing *6 and provide your comments.
Good afternoon. Now more than ever, it is necessary to prioritize human health by ensuring communities have access to a clean environment. The Board of Supervisors can do this by strengthening environmental quality regulations. It is essential that the Kern Board of Supervisors prohibits delays in establishing and implementing air quality, water quality, and climate regulations and rulemaking procedures at the local levels. Additionally, the board must prevent and prohibit rollbacks of existing air quality, water quality, and climate regulations at the local levels. The board must accelerate regulatory actions to protect public health and reduce exposure to harmful pollutants. Evidence shows that communities that carry a higher environmental burden are more at risk of becoming severely ill with COVID-19. Community health must be the priority at this time. In order to protect human health, the Board of Supervisors must allocate resources to provide adequate personal protective equipment and access to soap, water, and hand sanitizer to frontline workers, including farm workers, food processing workers, bus drivers, truck drivers, warehouse workers, grocery store workers, food bank volunteers, and other essential volunteers and paid workers during this pandemic. It is necessary to provide hazard pay for essential and frontline workers during the pandemic. Please allocate resources to provide free COVID-19 testing and treatment for all who need it. Additionally, the board must increase the number of testing sites in Kern, including in remote areas of the county. The board must require all to wear masks within the county, and if an individual does not have access to a mask, the county must provide masks. The aforementioned protocol is particularly important as Kern County in California looks to lessen social distancing requirements. Without adequate PPE, the state's most vulnerable populations that are essential workers are at high risk of exposure to COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We will now go to Ingrid Brostrom from the Center on Race, Poverty, and the Environment. Ingrid, if you would go ahead and unmute your mic by pressing *6 and provide your comments.
Yes, hello. My name is Ingrid Brostrom with the Center on Race, Poverty, and the Environment. Like many, CRP is concerned about COVID-19 and the unmanaged decline of oil and gas production in Kern County. We are especially concerned about their combined impact on the local economy and workforce. We believe that all residents have a right to health and a livable income. We are also concerned about Kern County having sufficient funds for necessary public services. We should all have the same goals for Kern residents. We want residents to be healthy and economically secure. We may disagree how to get there, but we should all agree that Kern County would benefit from new economic opportunities in the region to avoid the boom and bust cycles that we have seen with the oil and gas industry. Overdependence on a single industry promotes economic insecurity in the long run. We believe that having thoughtful conversations about the future of Kern County's economy and workforce is more important than ever. There are state funding opportunities on the table that would benefit the regional economy. My fear is that Kern leaders will let these opportunities slip away because we haven't been able to have open and honest conversations about diversifying the economy. We can disagree on how wonderful or how awful the oil and gas industry is for Kern County and still come together to bring new economic opportunities to Kern. We request that Kern County establish a local committee to assess the need and opportunities to diversify Kern County's economy and workforce. The committee should include union representatives, employees, employers, college and training program staff, and very importantly, community organizations and representatives. We look forward to working with leaders in Kern County to build a future for the county and its residents. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We'll now go to Paulina Torres from the Center on Race, Poverty, and the Environment. Paulina, if you will unmute your mic by pressing *6 and provide your comments.
Hi, my name is Paulina Torres. I'm with the Center on Race, Poverty, and the Environment. I'm speaking on behalf of my colleagues who can't join today because they are out driving in the communities, delivering drinking water to residents who are facing difficulty in getting drinking water throughout Kern County. Needless to say, my colleagues are doing this because there are communities throughout Kern that are in dire need of drinking water. For example, we have residents in Lost Hills who haven't been able to purchase water as shelves were empty, and even in Arvin, with the filtration system that they have, folks have reported that the system isn't always operational. We understand that Kern OES went to various parts of the county and found that there wasn't a shortage. And I just want to caution various issues with Kern OES's approach. Some guiding questions. What areas of the county did OES go to? When did they go? Just want to flag limitations for folks who work early mornings, and by the time they get to the store, shelves are cleared. There are also many folks who are immunocompromised and elderly, so those folks can't even leave their homes safely to get water. My colleagues are delivering water generously donated by private companies, and while that gesture is greatly appreciated, we're looking to the county to provide these necessary and basic human services and to ensure that every single one of its residents has access to clean drinking water. And so we ask for the following from the county. Expand the definition of access to water such that Kern OES can trigger emergency support for additional water supply for local residents. 2, ensure that drinking water is accessible in all areas of Kern County at a reasonable price during all hours of the day. And lastly, work with California Governor's OES to fund water deliveries for areas that are experiencing water shortages. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you so much for all your comments and concern and love for Kern County. Does that conclude our public remarks?
Yes, it does.
Okay, Kathy, thank you so very much. We're going to move along to board member announcements or reports. And of course, on our own initiative, board members can make announcements on their own activities. Supervisor Couch, was that from before or now? No. Excellent. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Last week, Kern County lost one of its best residents, in my opinion. Bob Hampton, who was the owner of Westside Waste. I want to take just a minute to talk about Bob and asked if we could adjourn the meeting today in his honor. He was a guy who really never said no to anybody, whether it was, he spent 36 years on our Assessment Appeals Board. I reappointed him twice. I think Ray Watson reappointed him 3 times. I think he got started with Ken Peterson back in 1994. But despite setting aside even the 36 years, and by the way, if you've never been to an Assessment Appeals Board hearing, don't ever go. It's nothing you want to ever sit through, but Bob sat through many of them, and he was always willing to attend at any time. But he also was somebody who never said no to basically any request. He helped me a great deal with community cleanups, and I saw him just reach into his pocket and pay for all kinds of things for all kinds of people, some of whom he knew and some of whom he had never even met before. He was just that kind of a guy. Interestingly, he played basketball at Taft College and he played basketball at USC. And while he was at USC, he starred, I shouldn't say starred, I think he had one speaking line in the movie Flubber and also Son of Flubber. I know this because I was at a Rotary Club meeting in Taft with him once when he donated his annual, what do you call it if you're in the movies? He was Screen Actors Guild, and he got I guess a royalty check. It's about $12 for the entire year, but he made a big deal out of donating that to the Rotary Club. He gave a great deal more than that to them and many other causes. As an example, I believe the day that Bob passed away at his office, Bob had purchased a building in downtown Taft. Many years ago, he allowed the Taft Chamber of Commerce to use it for free. And he had been at the building that day. Something had occurred, some vandalism or something to a door, and they had pointed it out to him. He had a crew out there within minutes, had it fixed. But that was literally the day that Bob passed away, I believe. And that was just a regular day in Bob's life. And I just wanted to make mention of his passing. He's somebody that I will certainly miss, we will all miss, and they just don't make them like that anymore. And I just appreciate it if we could adjourn the meeting in his honor. Thank you.
Well said.
Supervisor Couch, thank you for your remarks. Supervisor Scribner?
I just wanted to say.
Are you on?
I just wanted to say, Supervisor Couch, very well said. I think all 5 of us up here knew Bob pretty well or very well, and everything you said is right on the money. I had a little bit of a connection with him. He coached at West Hills College in Coalinga, and that's where my family's all from. And so my family knows him as Coach Hampton. Yeah, so he was a special guy. So thanks for your remarks.
I'd like to add that Bob was really a kind man, so kind, and was so consistently gracious to me through the years. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years, and I recently saw him. I won't say where, only because he appeared to be the only person in the room happy to see me, and he was so authentic about it, and he was so gracious. Overwhelmingly so. And what a kind and special man. So thank you. We will certainly do that. Pardon me. Very, excuse me, very good man. Wow. Okay, moving right along.
Madam Chair,
Any
may I
other
add one
board
more?
member? Supervisor Maggard.
Thank you. It's not often that we get to say goodbye to someone as dear as him, and those that have already spoken of him have spoken very, very appropriately about him. Bob was a remarkable fellow. I wanted to just share a couple little insights. He was a very encouraging man. And one of my sons was a high school basketball player and a saxophone player. And he shook my son's hand at a graduation and was just always, always affirming to him. And it wasn't because he was my son. It's because he was interested in any young man who, or a young lady who, was aspiring to do greater things in life. And he just was so positive like that. And I remember his absolute dedication to being positive and not negative. He was always directing the conversation, the debate, the dialogue back to the positive. And you're right, we will not again see someone like him. So thank you very much for doing this in his honor today, and my condolences to his family.
Thank you. I'll go to you, Supervisor Couch, and we can close in his honor. Okay, so moving along, no other board member announcements or reports, it looks like. So we will move right along to Public Works Department, and I see Craig Pope is ready to go. Item number 5, Mr. Pope, a public hearing, and I think you can set it up quite nicely. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Today is additional solid waste rates for fiscal year 2020-2021. These are Proposition 218 protest hearings. For fiscal year 2020-2021, Public Works is proposing no new increase in rates from fiscal year 1920, with the exception of the Zone 3 franchise areas. That's franchise areas 3, 19, 38, and 43. The other franchise areas were all covered under consent items 11 through 28. And the reason we put them on consent was they were already approved by your board last year. We just had to adopt new ordinances, which is how they make it onto the tax roll. No rate increases were given to Waste Management, Inc. last year. That's in the Zone 3 area, as they had assumed operations in February of 2019. And the last rate increase in franchise areas 3, 19, 38, and 43 was in 2015. And Zone 3, it's this small map, but it is this southeast general area, southeast of Kern County. Includes the desert, the southern part of the desert out there. Madam Chairman, I'd like you to kick off items 5 through 7, which we're going to hear concurrently. We will vote on them separately, but hear them concurrently.
I meant to mention that. Thank you, Craig. Items 5, 6, 7 we'll hear together, but we will vote separately. So thank you. This one here. Okay. We will be combining agenda items 5 through 7, since they are functionally equivalent for process, so they will be heard concurrently as one hearing, but still treated separately for voting purposes. Excuse me. This is the time and place for the public hearing for the following groups to consider the adoption of a recycling surcharge and an organic service charge, organic charge for commercial only, a rate increase, the use of a 5-year CPI/fuel factor formula for future increases, and the proposed ordinances establishing the schedule of solid waste collection charges for fiscal year 2021, and providing for collection of the same on the tax roll, Eastern Kern Universal Collection Area only. First bullet point, Eastern Kern Universal Collection Area. Second is residential non-tax roll billed Zone 3 franchise areas 3, 19, 38, and 43. And lastly, commercial zone 3, franchise areas 3, 19, 38, and 43. Mr. Pope, can you please make your presentation now?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In accordance with the Prop 218, the Kern County Kern mailed out 22,545 notices to property owners regarding fiscal year 2021 solid waste rates in Zone 3, franchise areas 3, 19, 38, and 43. The Public Works Department recommends a hauler rate increase plus adopting a recycling surcharge for residential and commercial properties for the franchise area served by Waste Management in that area. We're going to have 3 different items, starting with item 5, and it's complex, but bear with me and I'll try and explain as we go through it. The first item, number 5, is the Eastern Kern Universal Collection Area. This is an area that is mandatory collection, and the fees are put on the tax roll. The hauler is Waste Management, Inc. We recommend a CPI fuel factor of 2.9% increase. That residential proposed rate is $2.96. Currently, it is $2.90, so it's an increase of $6 a year. Recycling surcharge will be added, phased in over 2 years, $13.68 for 2021, $20.52 for 21-22. And we also will establish a CPI fuel factor formula to be used, may be used for rate increases for the next 5 years. Their contract doesn't have the formula. All the other franchises already have it, so we're just making them equivalent by including how we had proposed to do a CPI in it. Agenda item number 6 is the same area, but this is the residential area that's not in the mandatory collection. In other words, these folks that fall under this section are all voluntary. They call up and ask for the service. This is residential non-tax roll billed Zone 3, franchise areas 3, 19, 38, and 43. The hauler is Waste Management, Inc. We are recommending a CPI and fuel factor to be added at a 2.9% increase over it. And currently, the rate is it's $21.82 a month, and we're proposing to raise it to $22.25 a month. That's roughly around 40 cents a month difference. Recycling surcharge to be added, phased in over 2 years, $1.14 a month for fiscal year 2021, $1.71 a month for 21-22. And the recycling surcharge is only those that ask for it. They volunteer and say, yes, I want a blue can. This is not a mandatory area. They don't have to take it unless they want it. We also established the CPI and fuel factor formula equivalent with all the other franchises for rate increase for 5 years. And item number 7 is the commercial zone. It's the same franchise area 3, 19, 38, and 43, but this is the commercial pickups. So it has different rates. The hauler, it was Waste Management, Inc. CPI and fuel factor will be added to the current rate of 2.9%. We are going to add an organic rate. This is mandated by AB 1826, and the rate is set by the bin size. Recycling surcharge is added. The rate is set by the bin size again, and we'll establish a CPI and fuel factor formula, which may be used for rate increases for the next 5 years. Turn it back over to the Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pope. Before I open the hearing, is there any property owner who wishes to file a written protest regarding the adoption of the recycling surcharge and the organics charge for commercial only, of course, the increased rates, the use of the formula for future increases, or the placement of those charges on the tax roll, Eastern Kern Universal Collection Area only, for any of these agenda items? If so, they must be filed with the clerk of the board now, as no protest will be considered that is submitted after the close of the hearing. I will now open the hearing and receive comments and protests from any interested persons on any of the 3 agenda items. Kathy?
Madam Chair and members of the board, we have received protests which are on file, and those will be reported later. We have not received any requests today or any protests today, any additional protests. So
Okay.
if it would be appropriate to go to public comment, we do have 2 callers on the line that are, I'm not sure if they're interested in providing comment or not, but I want to let them have the opportunity to. We have Josh Mann and Sandra Pursley from Waste Management, Inc. Josh, if you're on the line and you would like to provide comment to the board, if you would unmute your mic by pressing *6, we'd be happy to hear your comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Josh Mann, and I am speaking on behalf of Waste Management, Inc. and our Kern County operations. Waste Management is proud to have the opportunity to serve Kern County, specifically the residents and businesses located in East Kern. Before you today are the requested rate adjustments to offset our increased costs of providing service. We understand that these are uncertain times, and we sympathize with the difficult decisions that you have had to make on behalf of all of us to protect our health and our safety. As a Kern County hauler, we are certainly grateful for the board's leadership. That said, we have not been immune to the economic impacts, many of which have been discussed at length here today. As an essential service provider, our overall workload and associated costs have increased, not declined. With more residents at home full-time, residential volumes have increased dramatically, requiring more driver hours just to keep up. We have also worked with many businesses to reduce or suspend their service. Both of us are hoping that situation is temporary. Internally, we've transitioned our customer service and dispatch center teams at a significant technology expense so they could work from home, ensuring their safety and a continuity of service to customers. And despite all these changes to our businesses, we have retained each and every one of our employees and continue to pay them at their full salary. As Mr. Pope noted, there are obviously factors with regards to this particular request this year that certainly go beyond COVID-19. And he's covered many of the points that I was looking to address. Specifically, I did want to note that the trash rates for every other non-tax roll billed solid waste county commercial zone and franchise area and all but one residential zone are currently higher than the rates in East Kern. This despite some having smaller geographic footprints and better route density. And as Mr. Pope noted, even with the requested 2.9% adjustment equal to about 43 cents per home per month, this trend will actually continue. And it would be worth noting that because rate adjustments are based on changes in cost incurred during the prior year, it's important to note that during 2019, all of the other zones and areas received an adjustment of 4.7%, as well as the recycling surcharge to help close the gap with the true cost of recycling. Of course, as Mr. Pope noted, our franchises did not receive last year's adjustment, and we've been working in good faith with staff to prepare for this year and have invested more than 100 hours to prepare the necessary supporting documentation for the requests, including the completion of a thorough cost analysis. Finally, in light of the current circumstances, we would like to offer a deferral of the commercial franchise rate adjustment to allow time for the county's plan to reopen businesses to come to fruition. And we certainly appreciate your consideration of our requests and your partnership in continuing to provide these vital services to the residents and businesses of East Kern. I am here for any questions.
Okay, thank you. I understand Sandra Persley did not call in, so Josh is really our only caller at this moment. Supervisor Maggard, did you? Thank you. Okay. We'll close the hearing. It appears as though there have been written protests filed. Prior to the conclusion of the public hearing, I'm going to ask Craig to weigh in at this time. If you could summarize the written protest results for Agenda Item 5, Craig, I would appreciate it. Eastern Kern Universal Collection Area.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The summary on Item 5, this is the Universal Collection Area, and it's really just a smaller area out there, but it happens to be an urban subdivision out in the Roseman area. There are 358 housing areas, parcels in this area. To get 50% plus one threshold, we'd need 180. The total protests received were 0. In other words, there was no concern voiced out of this area. Item number 6, this is the residential non-tax rolled build zone for Zone 3, franchise areas 3, 19, 38, and 43. This is the rest of the residential area for Zone 3. Parcels in this protest hearing were 17,627. A 50% plus one threshold is 8,815. Total received so far is 26 in protest. I'm going to back up one item here. The formal part of when you do a summary is that you had to say, Madam Chair, this is for item number 5. We have not received the minimum number of written protests to mandate that this item not pass. So on item 5, since we're going to vote on each one individually, would be the appropriate time to vote on item 5.
I see. Thank you very much. So as to item number 5, colleagues, we have closed the public hearing. Coming to you for action, please.
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Scrivener.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll go ahead and start because this is, I think, exclusively my district, whereas the other two are shared between the first and the second. The largest portion of this rate increase, Mr. Pope, from the way I'm reading it, is the recycling surcharge added. And so can you, I know in the public I hear from time to time folks wondering, why do we charge to recycle when the recyclables can be redeemed? But the markets have always been difficult when it comes to making recycling pencil, but I think that they've become increasingly more difficult over the course of the last few years. So can you provide some information for folks just on that subject, particularly the CPI fuel factor? Those are much smaller amounts, but the recycling surcharge makes up the bulk of this particular increase. Thank you.
Through the chair to Supervisor Scrivener, yes, indeed. The recycling surcharge is an added value that we gave to or proposed to give to the franchise haulers just because the world of recycling has been turned upside down. We have mandates and agreements with them, long-term contracts that they provide for recycling and provide for the ability to pick up, like most people have a blue cart, or that do this have a blue cart, and the hauler picks those up and processes them and then tries to find a market for them. Well, it used to be there was a market and they could make a little money and cover their costs, maybe make some profit on the deal. That market is now gone. Now they have to pay people to take their materials other than the stuff that has a CRV value. That's about the only thing that has any value to them. But all the rest of it, they have to pick up, sort, process, and then try and pay somebody to take it and dispose of it in a proper manner or utilize it in some manner. But it costs them money to do this now.
But yet we are mandated by the state to divert a certain amount of our waste stream, and that's the recyclable waste stream. So it's something that is required by us, and then we have to try and find a way to make it work, and then the same thing for the folks that pick it up.
That's correct.
And the market that you referred to that's now gone is China.
That's correct.
Essentially, because they've shifted their policies on what they're willing to take. They used to take just about anything, it seemed, from the recyclable waste stream. I've been out to those diversion centers, and it was surprising what all would go, but now that market is essentially gone.
Yes, that's correct. And they struggle to find markets even paying people to take it. They used to make money on the blue waste, the blue cans, but now they're charging other haulers. We have an agreement with them. They pick it up, and it's their product. Other places, like City of Bakersfield, they have to pay upwards of $140 a ton for them to take it from them to process. So it is quite a cost to it.
And so in light of these changes in available markets to send the recyclables, has the state changed their mandates on us for what we have to divert?
Not one bit. They're trying to hold on and see if it doesn't level out, but so far it just keeps going the other way.
Thank you, Mr. Pope. I'll see if my colleagues have any questions or comments.
Thank you, Supervisor Scrivener. Supervisor Gleason.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Supervisor Scrivener and Craig. Thanks a lot. Did I hear them say that they, in the public comment, that they were going to defer? What did they talk about deferring? I didn't catch that.
I did hear that, and I was going to ask the same question. I believe it's the commercial, any increase in commercial rate to help the small businesses out there try and get back on their feet.
Nice. They do a good job out there in Eastern Kern. They do a good job where I'm from, and I'm thankful that they're working for us and partnering with us. So we did it 218, 22,545. I wrote that number down. Things went out, and we have protests from 26 people. So obviously, it sounds to me like the people in Eastern Kern are okay with this. They see this for what it is. I'm thankful that Waste Management complied with our requests for releasing documents and information so that we could come up with a rate increase and help them not only just comply with the contract, but to achieve this rate increase. I recognize, I saw in the package that they were delayed last year, which they did not get paid for last year. Is that correct, Mr. Pope?
That's correct. They didn't get an increase last year that the other franchise haulers were the benefit of.
So I'm thankful again for that. The total cost on items 6 and 7 come to about the same, don't they, as item 5? I mean, it was $1, just written differently on item 6. It's $1. The recycling surcharge added was $1.14 a month from 2021, and on item 5, you did it by a year, which is about the same price.
It is about the same price. The reason we did it by the year for item 5, the item we're getting ready to vote on, is that it is on the tax roll as a one-time cost. And the other one, they pay by the month to the hauler directly. So it's in item 6, it's a monthly cost, and in item 5, it's a one-time annual tax cost.
Okay. Well, I would be support a motion to move on staff's recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Gleason. Supervisor Scribner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to specifically on item number 5, Mr. Pope, did I hear you say that there are 358 total parcels and we received 0 protests on this one?
That's correct.
Okay. So that's for 5. And Supervisor Gleason's correct. It was 26 out of over 17,000 on item number 6, I believe. But I wanted to ask Mr. Mann, are you still on the line with Waste Management?
Josh Mann, are you still on the line? If so, we'd like to speak with you. If you could unmute your mic and let us know you're there.
Yes, Supervisor Scribner.
Hi, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. About yourself?
Good, thank you. I think we're all looking for some clarification on a comment that you made about deferring the rate increase, specifically, I believe, on the commercial component, which would be item number 7. I don't know if Mr. Pope, have you had any discussions about that at all, or is that news to you as well?
That's news to us at this time.
So how would that work? What are you suggesting, Mr. Mann, on item number 7? Because I imagine that those business owners would be certainly receptive and grateful for a deferral, but I'm wondering what your company is thinking as far as the duration. Can you remind me, Mr. Pope, this is a 5-year, staging over a 5-year increase? And so is that right on this item 8?
We're looking at if you want to look at item number 7, that we're not quite there yet, but it was just a proposal for this 1 year within a CPI fuel factor formula, so that we would know, or we may be used to determine CPI or the increases for next year. But item number 7 you're looking at, that's the commercial rate. And in that item number 7, we had 0 protest also.
Okay. I know we're on item 5 here as far as the vote is concerned. Madam Clerk probably doesn't like me bouncing around like this when we're about
Neither does Madam Chair.
So I apologize.
Now that we're talking.
So I'll apologize to that to the extent that I should, but I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve item number 5, and then we can talk on staff's recommendation for item number 5, and then we can talk about 7 when we get there. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Supervisor Scrivener and Supervisor Gleason. We have a motion and a second as to item 5. Please cast your vote.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you. Mr. Pope, will you please now summarize the written protest results for agenda item 6, the residential non-tax roll build zone 3 franchise areas 3, 19, 38, and 43 properties?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're back on script here. The increases were as we had proposed. The mail out, the parcels in this protest hearing were 17,627 parcels. 50% plus 1 threshold to vote it down was 8,815, and we received 26 votes in opposition to it. So, Madam Chair, we have not received the minimum number of written protests to mandate that this item not pass. I now turn it back to your board for consideration and vote.
Thank you very much. As to item number 6, colleagues, your thoughts? Supervisor Gleason or Scrivener, are you?
Me.
Supervisor Gleason.
Motion on staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay. Thank you, Supervisors Gleason and Scrivener. Kathy, I'm sorry? We do have a motion and a second. We're waiting on Madam Clerk.
Please reconfirm your vote, Supervisor Scrivener. Thank you. The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you. And lastly, Mr. Pope, will you please summarize the written protest results for agenda item number 7, the Commercial Zone 3 franchise areas 3, 19, 38, and 43 properties?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item number 7 is the commercial zone for Area 3. They were to increase by a proposed CPI and fuel factor adding up to 2.9%. The organic rate was to be added for 1826. The recycling surcharge was to be added. We can't show all the different rates because it depends on the bin size. There's a whole bunch of different bin sizes. So parcels in this protest hearing, 4,560. 50% plus one threshold was 2,281, and we received no votes in protest. So, Madam Chair, we have not received the minimum number of written votes to protest to mandate that this item not passed. I now turn it back to your board for consideration and vote.
Thank you very much for your direction, Craig. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
Motion on staff's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion on Craig Pope's recommendation. A second, please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Excellent. Thank you so very much. Tedious but productive. Thank you. We'll move now to item number 44, which is under our County Administrative Office, Mr. Alsop and Ms. Martinez. Fiscal update and propose initial preemptive cost-saving measures in order to preserve resources to address potential revenue impacts resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Alsop, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. I am just going to hand it over to Ms. Martinez, our Chief Financial Officer, to provide this overview for you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Martinez.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. I did ask Mr. Alsop to introduce me as a good hire, although I always have to deliver bad news.
You're the saint.
Noted. My apologies. My bad.
We are taking this opportunity to provide your board with a fiscal update on 4 major categories of revenue and to request your board's approval to implement cost-saving measures. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues, we are now navigating the financial and economic effects of the disease. Kern County is not immune to the fiscal effects. Unfortunately, revenue declines are not just felt at the local level. The rapid and significant decline in revenues the state is experiencing is having a profound effect on counties. The report presents potential revenue losses in a range that represent our estimate of likelihood of losses in a limited versus extended recovery period. The estimates were prepared prior to the release of the governor's May revision last week. However, the May revision did not include good news. In fact, the state estimates are aligned with our projections, falling in the middle of the limited and extended recovery scenarios. I think it's important to remind the public how the county budget is funded. Our county budget financial resources for our governmental funds, also called operating funds, is $2.4 billion. This excludes our self-insured programs such as health benefits, workman's comp, general liability, as well as those departments that are fee-supported or provide services to other county departments. As you can see for the graph in front of you, 36.7% of the governmental funds are funded with aid from federal and state government. These revenue sources fund a multitude of programs for a lot of our residents. Next slide. This graph represents to you the functions that we fund across county departments. The majority of the funding goes to our all other categories. However, a good amount goes to our public assistance programs, health and sanitation, and public protection. In the general fund, our property tax and sales taxes fund over 37% for our departments, with the majority of the funding being allocated to our public safety departments, over 52.79%. Unfortunately, these are the revenue sources that are seeing the expected decline, as they are supported by sales tax, vehicle license fees, and property taxes. As reported in the report and previously stated by our assessor, our property tax will lag largely because the taxable value is determined on lien date, January 1st. However, because of the recent approved extension of the property tax revenue due date and waiving of the penalties discussed this morning by our treasurer tax collector, we anticipate seeing a decline this fiscal year in property tax. A greater decline is expected next fiscal year due to the potential decline in oil and gas property tax revenues, as well as the waiving of the property tax penalties until May 6, 2021. With the stay-at-home order, activities that generate local sales tax have slowed down. In addition, it's not certain how many businesses are taking advantage of the state's small business relief payment referral. In front of you, I know it's a lot of numbers, but if you can see the first column, original budget, $790 million is the revenue of those four sources. Right now, we have received $649 million. We anticipate our first payment with the decline next week. We'll have a better picture. However, what we've seen both from our sales consultants and the state, we anticipate that in a limited scenario, we could see a decline in our revenue of $39 million. In an extended recovery, that loss could be as high as $72.74 million. Some of the revenue sources listed there include our 2011 and 1991 realignment, as well as Proposition 172 revenue. Both 1991 and 2011 realignment programs are funded with dedicated sales tax and vehicle license fees collected at the state level. These revenue sources fund a multitude of critical programs, including the prison realignment, behavioral health, child welfare, and adult protective services. Proposition 172 revenue is generated through the extension of a half sales tax that was approved by voters in 1993. The revenue is generated statewide and allocated to counties for the use of public safety purposes, including the sheriff and our fire department. Combined, these revenue sources, as I stated, they represent over $790 million of our $2.4 billion budget in 1920. Based on the scenarios presented, we anticipate the decline, as I indicated, for 1920, ranging from $39 million to $72.7 million. Next slide, please. And based on the information we have for the following year, we're anticipating for what we originally had prepared, a decline of $31 million to $82 million. With your board's leadership, the county was able to mitigate the use of reserves in the general fund, despite the pressures to resolve the 2016 oil and gas problem with reserves. However, reserves are not enough to withstand the anticipated economic pain. I know a caller made a reference to a $730 million reserves. I want to make sure that our public and your board understand what that is. That is our 2019 CAFR number for the entire county. The majority of those reserves are categorical funds that cannot be switched between departments. We are not allowed to use some funds that are received for our DHS department for welfare and assistance to fund our sheriff department. What we do have is a small general fund reserve. We have $40 million that we were able to maintain despite the pressure to use it to backfill declines in property tax during our mitigation plan. As we evaluate all potential actions, including examining new ideas that have resulted from a rapid adaptation to the stay-at-home order, We need to evaluate consolidation of county resources, including information technologies and fiscal activities. In fact, your board already approved consolidation of some IT functions and departments. We will continue to work with departments to bring back your board with immediate recommendations that may include consolidation of resources. Devin Brown, your Chief Human Resources Officer, will present other actions that will be needed to move forward in this uncertain time. This concludes my prepared remarks, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. And my goal is one day to be in front of you with good news.
Thank you very much. Mr. Alsop, did you want to add anything to that presentation?
Other than to just say Elsa is a good hire. She's fantastic, and I appreciate her actually clarifying the misrepresentation made in the letter from our friends. Well, I won't, it was a letter that was read earlier. I appreciate her clarification on that.
Very good.
Did I see Devin signal that he's interested in the same affirmation?
I was hoping beyond all hopes, but I guess, you know.
Your time will come, Devin.
Yeah. We'll wait to see after what I say here. So all kidding aside, Ms. Martinez's projections are something we're taking very seriously in the County Administrative Office, and something we've been working on considerably over the last several weeks, even during the pandemic, when we're busy handling the pandemic in and of itself and all the issues that have gone with that. Before you, we're recommending some immediate short-term actions for your board to implement today. And I just want to give some background to why we're looking at those particular actions today, and then when we might be looking at other future actions to help stem this budget shortfall that we're anticipating. So the actions that we're asking for today are coming before you because they are the things that we can do immediately without negotiating with our labor partners, although it concerns employees and may present some difficult situations with our workforce and our departments who are continuing to provide valuable services to our community. These are actions that we can take today with your board's approval to immediately put in place some restrictions to stem additional revenue or expenditures that we're not going to be having the revenue as Ms. Martinez projected. So the first action is implementing a hiring freeze. We have seen up and down the state many counties doing this as well, including our neighbors to the north, Tulare. Everybody throughout the country is having these financial difficulties and is weighing these grim options that are before you today. We've been in a somewhat restricted hiring process for at least 2 or 3 years now, and that process has, thanks to better times, been made more fluid, and hiring has been approved on a much more frequent basis. But what we're asking your board today is to approve a pretty firm hiring freeze of all existing vacant and future vacant positions through at least June 30th of 2021. That's based on our projection that this is a multi-year problem. As Ms. Martinez said, it's not just the revenue shortfalls that we're facing today, it's the projected reduction in property tax from our oil and gas revenues that we would be facing next fiscal year. The County Administrative Office will continue to review hiring requests as they come in from departments, and on a very limited basis approve those. And that includes hiring new employees and also promotions within departments. The next measure that we're asking your board to implement today is to freeze all flexible promotions through June 30th of 2021. So a flexible promotion involves a classification series that has multiple levels within it. Some of our attorney classifications are good examples. They have 1 through 5 levels. And so upon merit, a department head would typically be able to promote an employee up those levels. So these are not our step increments that you might be familiar with. These are promoting them from one classification level to a next classification level. It also is based on their years of experience and the complexity of their ability to perform the work assigned. So we're asking, these are discretionary actions upon the departments. They're not required and mandated, although they certainly are helpful in our workforce to continue to promote and retain staff. But these are also discretionary actions that your board can place a freeze on, and we're requesting your approval of that today. The next item is a freeze on all special step increments through June 30th of 2021. Under your board's policy for step increments, departments are able to, at times, give additional advances on an increment. So usually you get that at your annual evaluation, and if you're a standard or above standard employee, you're eligible for an increment as you move through steps A through E or F in some cases. A special step increment is a step that comes mid-cycle or at the end of the cycle as an additional step, so a double step. Again, these are discretionary actions that the department heads currently have the ability to implement, and we're asking your board to freeze that currently as they are discretionary. The next items are related more towards, not towards our employees, but are also necessary, we believe, is the suspension of non-essential capital and other non-essential purchases in the current fiscal year, that's fiscal year 2019-2020. As Ms. Martinez outlined, the revenue shortfalls are hitting us in this current fiscal year, which is nearly over, but will impact us nonetheless. And then the final immediate short-term action will implement a suspension of the budget savings incentives program, which would carry on into the next fiscal year budget. So at the end of this budget year, typically we would evaluate the expenditures of our services and supplies on a department-by-department basis and additional revenue that they received above their budgeted amount, and each department receives a budget savings incentive that they can carry over to future fiscal years. We feel at this point we're going to need that additional extra money and extra resources and carryover to fill our budget gap in the next fiscal year. So we're requesting a suspension of that program for this coming fiscal year. On top of those items, and like I said, those are all items that your board can implement right now to immediately stem the tide of the budget shortfall that we're facing. We are looking at future actions to negotiate changes with our workforce. Again, many counties up and down the state of California are facing this other grim prospect and are trying to find creative ways to move forward with reduced revenues. So some of the actions that we're going to be asking your board to contemplate are to eliminate all overtime payments over the mandated FLSA, the Fair Labor Standards Act requirements. We've talked numerous times about this with our employee unions, specifically our public safety unions. Our general membership with SEIU and our prosecutors union and our unrepresented employees already are receiving overtime at the FLSA minimum requirements. And so we'll be asking your board to consider and approve changes in the way we calculate overtime for our public safety positions as well. The next item is kind of continuation of the previous slide, but something that does require negotiations with our union. Our current step increment process would allow employees, like I said, at the annual evaluation to move from one step to the next as they reach that annual anniversary date. They have the ability to move from a step A to a B. It's a 5% increase in salary. We're asking your board for direction also to freeze those step increments or make that proposal to our employee associations through the next calendar year. It wouldn't result in an immediate salary decrease to anybody. It would certainly postpone future salary increases beyond the time period that we're looking at to stem. But it is something that we would have to negotiate with our employee associations. And additionally, we're also looking at across-the-board salary reductions. This is probably one of the items that we hope to avoid at all costs, but certainly presents the ability to save additional resources as quickly as possible. And finally, the last three are other creative ways that we can ask our employees and our departments to help us out in this trying time, even though they've gone many, many years without COLAs or increases in salary. This is a real difficult time, as many of you understand. We would look at furloughs of personnel. We currently have the ability to accept voluntary furloughs, so if there's any employees that are interested in doing that, that's something they can work with their departments on pursuing, but mandating furloughs as well of personnel. So, for example, a day, a pay period, it roughly estimates to 10% of salary. That could be spread out over months or only be conducted through parts of the year to reduce the amount of employee expenses that we spend on personnel. It would also have the benefit to the employees of at least allowing them to have that time off while they're not being paid for that time. And finally, the last thing we're talking about is early retirement incentives. We've previously had a retirement incentive program that is looking at retirement service credit enhancements. We're actually looking at something different, and we'll be speaking with our employee associations on this. It's more of a health benefit in retirement incentive that will help them cover the additional costs of retiree health care as they potentially could retire earlier than they anticipate. And that it does present a roadblock for a lot of our workforce during their anticipated retirement considerations. So that's something we're going to be pursuing as well. And then finally, the last item on the screen is a reduction in force. Those are items that your board could implement, reducing positions if that has to occur. It doesn't necessarily require labor negotiations to implement those, but we do have to negotiate with our employee associations over the effects of layoffs. And certainly that has a large impact on the amount of services that we can provide our community because it's talking about a reduction in our number of workers throughout the county. So those are some short-term actions that we're pursuing. We also have the majority of our employee contracts up for negotiation, and we're going to be approaching them with some long-term restructuring of our compensation model to help get some long-term financial health so that we can move through this period and get to a better future where we can start providing COLAs and regular employee increases in salary. And so we'll be looking at a restructuring of our employee compensation model, increasing our retirement contributions for those employees who aren't paying their full employee retirement contribution. There's many employees throughout the county that over the years have had the fortune of paying a reduced amount, and so we'll be looking at that as well. Increasing some of our employee health care contributions. Right now, employees pay 20% of the employee premium, and we've been looking at increasing some of our plan costs there to help incentivize participation in our lower cost healthcare plans. And then finally, looking at our retiree health program and eliminating current supplements and stipend programs for future employees. And then the last thing on the slide that we're looking at is utilizing our temporary and limited duration employment status, known as extra help, throughout the county. These are employees that mostly get their leg into county employment, and so it's a really great opportunity to find at least temporary work in the county workforce and build into that permanent employment. It does come at a reduced cost to county departments, and so it is something that we could use temporarily to help reduce our expenditures on employees. overall, our employee expenditures and salary and benefits make up a very large portion of our total budget. And so that's why we're having to look at these types of issues, despite the impact that they're going to have on our employees who we work with and manage on a daily basis. And really is unfortunate we've gotten to this place after many, many years of reductions in departmental budgets. And many departments have done a great job of trying to find creative ways to do that without touching our workforce. But we're really, because of the situation Ms. Martinez outlined, at the point where we have to consider everything on the table. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. But our recommendation, if we can go back to the 2 slides before this, is to implement a hiring freeze of existing vacant and future vacant positions through June 30th of 2021, freezing flexible promotions through the same date, June 30th, 2021, and freezing all special step increments through the same date, June 30th, 2021, and then suspending all non-essential capital and other non-essential purchases during the current fiscal year, and then suspending the budget savings incentives program for this upcoming fiscal year. Ms. Martinez, myself, and Mr. Alsop would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much for your presentation and your work on these matters. I see the CAO is chiming in or
Yes, ma'am.
punching in.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate it. Madam Chairwoman, members of the board, I want to thank Devin and Mr. Brown and thank Ms. Martinez for their presentations. We are already, by most experts' opinion that I've read anyway, and what I'm seeing, we're already in the worst economic downturn in this country since the Great Depression of the 1930s. And we are right in the middle of the largest spike in unemployment in all of U.S. history by quite a large margin. These are going to be difficult times going forward, and they are there are things that may change our projections. There are things that may happen in the weeks, months, years ahead that may change the outlook, change our recommended course of action, change things for us in a positive way. There are things that are being debated at the federal level. There are stimulus packages that are being debated at the federal level. There are, lots of this depends on how oil performs in the months and years ahead. A lot of this depends on when and how our economy comes back, what kind of an economy comes back ultimately, and how that is sustained over the long term. This depends on where we are with COVID-19, not in the weeks and months ahead, but are we going to be dealing with this at this time next year and the year after? So there are a lot of things at play here. But what we wanted to bring before your board today, and what we're asking you to vote on today, is these short-term actions that we recommend you take. We are already practicing them in large measure, but it's important for your board to provide that direction and to make that county policy for the period of time that Mr. Brown outlined. The longer-term things that might give some folks that we employ heartache, talking about salary reductions and furloughs and some of these other things, these are things that we must talk about. They must be discussed and part of our planning and implementation strategy as we continue to prepare to deal with what we are projecting to be a pretty severe revenue loss. Again, many things can happen to change those projections and to change the outlook and change what we do. But we have to have a sober stance on this now, and we have to really look at this head on, to not mince words, to be very clear and as transparent as we possibly can be, and that's what this presentation was about. I'm hoping that there are things that change again in the weeks and months ahead that spare us going through some of these exercises, but again, we're asking for your board support and moving forward here in the short term, and we're certainly going to be keeping you appraised of how we move forward, and certainly providing recommendations to your board on how we may do that in meeting the situation we may find ourselves in going into this next fiscal year in January, when we are determining what the price, what the value of oil properties is here in Kern County, and beyond that. So this will be an involving exercise, and we'll be back with to your board with recommendations as we continue to proceed. But right now, we're asking for your support on these short-term items. The county, my office, is going to continue to proceed with budget planning for fiscal year 2021 as planned. And we'll be doing that. We've already started that planning. We'll be proceeding with that and reporting and bringing that proposed budget to your board in the coming weeks. And in some months' time, in August, you'll be ultimately voting on an approved budget for this next fiscal year. So lots of things changing, happening potentially over the next several weeks and months. But this is a real deal scenario that we find ourselves in now, and this is our best estimation of that and our best recommendations on how we could potentially deal with that.
Ryan, thank you. Supervisor Maggard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I support the unfortunate, based on the unfortunate circumstances we find ourselves in, I support the vast majority of these measures, and I will vote to support them and affirm them. There is one area, though, where I have pause, and that is in the area of the suspension of all, I'm emphasizing the word all, non-essential capital and other non-essential purchases during the fiscal year 2019-20. I don't know how, and certainly don't want to tell other supervisors how they run their districts, but in my district, I very fastidiously use 1040 money. That's for the public's purposes information. That's a category of our budget where funds are allocated to each district, and the supervisor uses those within their district as they think is appropriate. I have used 1040 money very, very effectively in my time here over the years to supplement those areas where the county is just, frankly, unable to meet the needs of my district. For example, in 2019, 1040 money was used to hire the homeless to pick up after the homeless and other problems in my district with graffiti and whatnot. But almost 2,000 bags of trash were collected and removed by these strike teams in 2019. Already in 2020, nearly 1,000 bags of trash were removed. For me, imagine what my district looked like with 3,000 additional bags of trash left on the street all this time. I also use those funds to provide street lights, to energize those lights. I have made many, I talk to my district all the time, and I know what they want, I know what they need. I've given many people assurances. I have projects that are in the pipeline that have been in the pipeline, and it takes an inordinate amount of time to get some of these things through. But I have projects that are in the pipeline that have been in the pipeline for a couple of years. I fully intend to complete those projects with money that was already allocated to my district, and I have every intention of continuing to do that. So I don't know how others feel about the use of their 1040 money, but I need to supplement what the county can do for my district with monies that are available to me to do so. So all the rest of the stuff, I am on board and ready to pick up the rope and pull in the same direction as everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Maggard. I want to reiterate that your points, absolutely agree with you, in particular areas in which we simply cannot meet. It appears as though we will not be able to hire even temporary staff for the next year. We normally have that option at a very low rate, nearly minimum wage, frankly, with no benefits, and we're not even going to be able to do that. So the reliance on these kind of opportunities, I think, will grow, and I really hope that we find a way to keep that flexibility, because it is fairly uncomplicated and efficient in the hands of people that, move quickly without traditional government barriers. So thank you. I'll leave that alone. Supervisor Couch.
Thank you. Am I right to sort of view this as your intermediate short-term actions are dollars that would end up in our balance forwards, our fund balance carry forwards that we would look at in the next budget, either leaving in reserves or being able to utilize in the next budget? Is that a good way to look at this or not?
Supervisor Couch, to the chair, you are correct. The measures are what I call cost avoidance.
Yep.
You're not increasing your costs, and if those funds were budgeted, they'll be able to offset revenue losses.
Gotcha.
So to the extent that they're greater than the revenue losses, yes, you're correct.
Okay. Stay there for a moment if you would. And I know there's going to be a range on this, and you might not be able to answer it right now, but can you give us an estimate on each of those bullet points, at least on the the immediate short-term actions? You don't have to have it to the penny. I'm just asking for an approximate number, if you have that, either in total or on each one if you have that. Of course, to get to a total, you'd have to know what each one was.
I do have the information for some, but not for all.
Okay.
For example, we did look at all the capital assets that have not been purchased at the time of the report. So we had about $1.6 million. Unfortunately, most of them were at our sheriff department, and we have been working with them to evaluate every single item. The non-essential purchases, they're a little bit more difficult because we do not get to see what departments are trying to buy until they're already in the process. So what we're encouraging departments to do is to really consider before they submit a purchase order or they enter into contract negotiations. For the salaries, Supervisor Couch, we spend, and it stated the report, we spend $988 million on staff, okay? We currently have spent about approximately 77.6%. I want to make sure you understand that the majority of those, the positions are funded with other revenue sources that are, if we don't hire, we won't get the revenue. So to do the net, it's a little bit complicated, and it has to be very unique by department. So I wouldn't have a number. The budget, to spend budgetary savings incentives, departments last year got about approximately $3 million in BSI added to their balances. I just want to make sure we're clear because departments are going to need their BSI to balance their existing budget. So we're not eliminating their current balances that are above, I believe they're $13 million that department have accumulated. We're just asking that not to add more to their BSI.
That was one of my questions. You're not going to add to BSI, but you're able to use the BSI.
Correct, that's our intention. And I'll be happy to, flexible promotions are kind of difficult because you never know if the department is going to promote somebody. I mean, we just have to take an assumption. So,
right.
Special steps, again, we don't know when departments are gonna do that. We did look at a savings of if everybody froze steps from here to June. Unfortunately, the dollar value wasn't significantly, it was in the 100,000s, but it's still anything that we can save now can help for the future.
And I'm glad Supervisor Maggard brought it up. So can you address his question or his concern over District 1040?
So 1040 funds, as Supervisor Mager indicated, are used for at your discretion. We do bring those items to your board for consideration. So at that point, your board can decide whether those 1040 items are essential or not essential.
But did you intend for the District 1040 accounts or that monies to be included in your other non-essential purchases?
Anything that is considered non-essential will be at the table.
Okay.
So if your board decides that's non-essential, will be considered.
And I don't think it's mentioned in here, but what about the economic opportunity areas? Are you thinking of sort of wiping those out and using what's been designated there for now, or are you just thinking of not adding to them in the?
So your board has set up several opportunity areas that take any property tax growth and sales tax growth from a specific year to this year and set it aside for the use in those areas. Our intention when we bring back your recommended budget for next year is to not add any additional funds to those areas and keep any property tax in for general use. You may ask, well, is property tax declining? You won't see an increase. Unfortunately, overall, there's a decline, but specific areas may have different growth. So we would like to use those funds for general operations.
Is your intent to do what you did last time, which was you didn't fund them, but you kept track of what it would have been, and in subsequent years when times were better, then you funded them?
My intention at this point, Supervisor Couch, is no. It will really depend on the situation at the time. We are looking at a multi-year. Of course, if, I bring you the good news, I'm hoping to bring you some time. Hopefully, that's the first news that I'll bring to you. But at this point, I think we need to make available property tax resources for general use because we are going to need them.
Okay, my last request of you is going forward, and I know this is hard to do because you just explained why it's hard to do, but the best you can do to putting a dollar amount on each of the bullet points, not only today's, but going forward, I would greatly appreciate.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Couch. Supervisor Gleason.
Thank you, Madam Chair. St. Elsa. What I saw in one of your graphs was you projected out a shortage of, in 1920, anywhere from 39 million to 72 million. And then in 2021, another shortage, different shortage of 31 million to 82 million.
That is correct.
Putting that in context for me, I'm seeing that 5 years ago when the oil market crashed, we had a structural deficit of about 45 million. And we created a 4-year spending plan to offset that hole in our revenues. And it was a bear. And we went through heck to get to where we are, and we cut our departments to bone, or most of them. We implemented new management. We went above and beyond creating new ways to offset costs, generate revenue, and to be a more efficient government. Now you're saying, what I'm hearing you say is because of the COVID issue, because of the oil issue, and because of other external forces stressing our budget, that we're going to have to go through that maybe again by a factor of 2 because of the projected shortages in 1920 and the projected shortages in 2021. Is that correct?
Supervisor Gleason, to the chair, you are correct to some degree. I think there's a major difference between what we went through last time. It was in the general fund. We knew what our number was from day one because of our property tax assessment. The economy was doing great. We saw the potential for growth. There were departments, our workforce worked very hard to reduce the deficit, but we also saw growth in revenue. What we have here is very unique, but not unique to us. It's across the board. And unfortunately, even if I don't know if you can cut enough, most of our issues are on 2011 realignment, 91 realignment. Those are mandated programs. So we're going to have to, we're working for every department to figure out what can we absorb, what can we allocate to CARES funding. What if the governor included that we could have said? There's some things that, although his realignment projections are declining, So we are being absolutely as creative, and we are working very hard with our departments to identify sources. But at the end of the day, you're right, we're gonna have to go through this exercise, especially for our public safety, because they're severely impacted with Prop 172 and some of the 2011 realignment.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Gleason. Well, we've got some public
sorry.
input. We're doing okay. Thank you for the offer, Supervisor Gleason. Supervisor Scrivener.
Just very quickly, Madam Chair, I agree, have the same thoughts in regard to our discretionary funding, that we have a small amount for our districts that we are able to allocate. If I have things that are in the pipeline, so to speak, then I'm going to want to see those projects delivered, those commitments honored to the extent that it makes sense. And also, with the economic opportunity zones, I realize that your intention, because of what we might be facing, would not be to repay those funds in the future. I think that's a discussion for this board, but I definitely want an accounting of what I would have received in my economic opportunity zones. So when we are able to pull out of this, then I'll have some idea of what that shortfall was. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Scrivener. Supervisor Maggard.
Thank you. I appreciate my colleagues bringing up the economic opportunity zones. Those were put in place many years ago when the state dispensed with redevelopment zones and all of the process that accompanied them. They were put in place for very, very specific and very needy areas. And I agree with my colleagues, and especially the last comment made by Supervisor Scrivener, that when the time comes that we make a decision about using those funds for something other than what they were intended for, that's a decision for this board to make, I think, separately on a item by item, issue by issue basis. So thank you very much. I'm ready to support the recommendation after we've heard public input and we have a motion in play. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Maggard. I'm going to ask for public input at this point. I understand we have some written comments, but we also have some live testimony or input from folks waiting.
That is correct, Madam Chair. We have 3 recorded comments. You have hard copies of those comments. The first is from Eli Winters, the second is from Debbie Alman, and the third is from Romeo Agbalog, representing Kern Citizens for Sustainable Government. Once we hear those comments, then we do have 2 members of the public who would like to provide comments to you via teleconference. So we'll hear the recorded comments first.
Email from Eli Winters. Honorable Supervisors, today during the PM session of the regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors, you will be considering agenda item number 44, quote, fiscal update and proposed initial preemptive cost saving, end quote. I would like to draw your attention to the first sentence of the second paragraph. Quote, COVID-19 coronavirus has affected day-to-day life and is slowing down the global economy, end quote. I would like to respectively request the line be stricken and replaced with, quote, government actions, including the actions of this board to COVID-19 coronavirus has affected day-to-day life and is slowing down the global economy, end quote. Email from Debbie Allman entitled Recognize the Value of the Library to This Community. My name is not important. I was born and raised in Bakersfield and currently am an employee with the County of Kern. The idea that if you don't spend it, you'll lose it is an incentive to overstate the needs of the department and buy things at the end of the year to prevent having a reduced budget in the next year. The Kern County Library keeps getting the brunt of this policy as it is considered a non-essential service. The library has reinvented itself during this quarantine period. It has embraced the virtual world by providing opportunities for our citizens to make crafts with a teacher, showing you the way to having a Zoom meeting live event that shares the thoughts through public speaking of accomplished speakers. We are sane because of the library and the familiar faces that are reading us bedtime stories or scary stories or showing us a movie right before we sleep. Recognize this value, promote the library not by reducing its budget. Through inspiration and persuasion, ask your department leaders to be truthful in their needs and stop this cycle of misrepresentation and year-end spending. Thank you for your consideration. Letter from Romeo Agbalog. Kern Citizens for Sustainable Government would like to express its appreciation and thanks to your board for its efforts to govern the County of Kern during this difficult COVID-19 pandemic. We recognize that the County of Kern, like other jurisdictions throughout the state, is also grappling with the effects of this pandemic-induced recession and its impacts on the county's budget. In regards to fiscal concerns, your board will receive an update from your county administrative office this afternoon detailing these negative impacts, along with some recommendations for your board to consider to help mitigate these impacts in anticipation of a significant loss of revenue. We would like to share that we are in support of the CAO's recommendations, though would also ask your board to consider going further to adopt additional cost-saving measures to help the county survive the devastation to not just this year but future budget years as well. For example, impose the long-stalled fire department contract, consider additional percentage reductions to all departments, and reductions to the workforce or furloughs. While these suggestions may be difficult to consider, this is not a typical fiscal emergency, but a perfect storm fiscal disaster that will require far greater economizations than merely cuts alone. Therefore, we also suggest the County of Kern re-examine the way it does business by seeking further savings through greater efficiencies, restructuring, and collaboration with other governmental agencies. As we face a state budget deficit of over $54 billion on top of the county's projected budget deficits, Great Depression era-like unemployment numbers, and the prospects of a very slow recession recovery period, your board must rely again on its strength and courage used to overcome the multi-year $44 million structural deficit nearly a year ago. We trust that your board will also draw from its motto of continuous improvement to be bold, innovative, and courageous in the times ahead. Thank you for the opportunity to submit these comments, and always.
Thank you. Now we will hear from the first speaker, Jasmine De La Aguila from Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability. Jasmine, if you will go ahead and mute your mic by pressing *6 and provide your comments.
Yes, thank you. Board of Supervisors, to the Chair. My name is Jasmine De La Aguila with Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability. We have worked closely with the broad coalition of community residents and local organizations over the several years to engage in annual budget development processes. We have met with many of you on multiple occasions to discuss community priorities such as parks and green spaces, roads and infrastructure, community spaces, water, and several other issues. As the county prepares to respond to this economic crisis in the current and future fiscal years, we urge the county to do so in partnership with community groups and transparently through a robust public processes. With respect to suspension of non-essential capital expenditures, it is unclear how the county will determine what is considered essential and what is not. For example, how will this impact parks, access to green spaces, housing, active transportation, and flooding prevention efforts, all of which are community identified priorities. We urge the county take public health and community health at the center of decision making. The Public Health Alliance of Southern California has put together a Healthy Places Index with a mapping tool, and most recently has identified 6 COVID-19 Healthy Places Index indicators to help organizations respond to COVID-19. We recommend the board and the county staff to explore such indicators to help guide and ensure that the public health and well-being is at the forefront of decision making. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Now we will hear from Marcus Moncour with Kern Law Enforcement Association. Marcus, if you will go ahead and unmute your mic by pressing *6 and provide your comments.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman and Supervisors. I wanted to comment on Mr. Alsop's proposal and how the proposal affects Kern County, its residents, and law enforcement services. We already have soft on crime legislation with AB 109, Prop 47, Prop 57, and we're letting criminals out of jail because of COVID-19, and there's zero bail jail. There's absolutely no deterrent to crime. As proof, I statistically compared the month of April 2019 to the month of April 2020. Homicide is up 800%. Assault is up 25%. Burglary is up 21%. And auto theft is up 110%. There have been 7 attacks on sheriff's deputies since December of 2019. This isn't happening because deputies aren't out on the streets. This is happening because of soft on crime laws and lack of proper staffing, thus creating a public safety crisis. Deputies have been on the streets since this pandemic began, working diligently to keep our community safe. This coronavirus pandemic has exploited Kern County's public safety crisis. Kern County has a rich heritage and tradition of tough on crime, law enforcement, and prosecution. When I was a new deputy, I attended a few out-of-town training courses. As part of the class, I would typically introduce myself and where I worked. As soon as I told the class I worked for Kern County, I received praise and accolades on how we were tough on crime. Now, I just get apologies and condolences. I just ran into a friend that works for the California Highway Patrol. He said he felt sorry for Kern County deputies having to work under these conditions. Since our new contract was signed in September of 2019, 13 deputies have left Kern County for other law enforcement agencies. We currently have 26 cadets in the academy. We have 50 vacancies at the deputy rank, 27 vacancies at the senior deputy or detective rank, and 8 vacancies at the sergeant rank. So do the math. If nobody left the sheriff's office or retired, we would need to hire 59 new deputies in order to fill the vacancies we have today. Now Mr. Alsop is recommending cutting public safety by not filling current vacancies, future vacancies, promotions, and step increments. If there must be cuts, they should start at the top of the county government and come down. We can't balance our budget on the backs of public safety and risk community safety. The people are tired of being victimized and having to wait for law enforcement services. It's time for Kern County's New Deal. It's time for this board to invest in this community. Concentrate on opening this county up and saving small businesses and jobs. Utilize the money in the county reserves to infuse the Kern County's economy. KLEA will continue to establish and maintain partnerships with businesses in the community to keep Kern County a safe place to work and live. And I would like to invite all the Board of Supervisors to attend a town hall meeting to further discuss the impacts on this proposal on public safety. And I'm asking this board not to follow staff's recommendation on this agenda item. Thank you.
Okay. Does that conclude our public comment,
Yes,
Kathy?
yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. I'm going to close the public portion of this item and return to my colleagues. So I see no one punched in. I see no input incoming from the CAO. So I'll return to my colleagues for action. I would ask for clarification on the motion because there are several slides as to potential actions. I think there's potential for real confusion there. So if we could clarify that before a vote, that would be helpful. But gentlemen, I'm certainly interested in your input. Not all at once, please.
I'm ready. I punched in.
Oh, Supervisor Couch, I missed you. My apologies. Supervisor Couch.
So I'll make a motion to receive and file and approve the intermediate short-term actions and authorize the Chief Administrative Officer to implement.
I'm sorry, Supervisor Couch, you said intermediate. Do you mean immediate?
I'm sorry. If I said intermediate, I misspoke. Immediate.
Immediate. So we are not voting on additional short-term actions or long-term actions, just so we're clear. Thank you very much. We have a motion from Supervisor Couch. I see Supervisor Gleason punched in.
I did, but now I got to go back and get my paper out to say what you just said, so I can second it. You said
Just
you
don't say
want to,
intermediate. Just kidding, Couch.
no immediate short-term actions?
It's the Supervisor Couch's motion, if I'm correct, is on the immediate short-term actions, not the additional short-term or long-term, which are future considerations.
And I'm making that motion because I thought that was staff's recommendation to us today. Is that
That is
incorrect?
also my sense, but it's why I asked for clarification.
Yeah.
Is that correct, Brian?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got it. So yes. Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Gleason.
I'd just like to ask a question to clarify. Does that include the adjustments that Supervisor Mag suggested about 1040 account?
Great question. Brian?
Those 1040 items will be brought to your board for your board's consideration on each. If you feel they're essential, you could take them up at that time, or you can just do a blanket exempt your 1040 expenditures from our recommendation.
So what is the motion?
I'm going to ask the maker of the motion.
I'm okay with us proceeding. The way you just described it, Mr. Alsop, is the way we do it now. Board members submit their request, and it comes to on a board agenda, and we all vote on it. I'm okay with that same policy going forward.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, so the motion includes as to the 1040, an opportunity to deal with those funds in the future. Supervisor Couch, I see you nodding in affirmation. So I want to again clarify for the public, this is immediate short-term actions. It does not include additional short-term actions or long-term, which of course may occur in the future and quite frankly are probably very likely. But just to clarify the action today. So thank you, Supervisor Couch and Supervisor Gleason. I do not see anyone punched in, and I would ask my colleagues, please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, all ayes.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of our agenda today, not seeing additional input. We will adjourn to June 2nd. And Supervisor Couch.
Yes, thank you, and I would ask that we, respectfully ask that we adjourn the meeting in the honor of Bob Hampton.
A truly
or in memory
good,
of Bob Hampton. Thank you.
a good and kind man. Thank you, Supervisor Couch.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.